You made a financial decision today. Maybe you bought something you did not need. Maybe you avoided checking your bank account. Maybe you told yourself you would start investing next month. You did not do any of that randomly. Your brain made those choices for you. And your brain, when it comes to money, is working against you in ways that took scientists decades to fully understand. This is not about discipline. It is not about intelligence. It is about the fact that the human brain was never designed to handle money at all. Here is what nobody tells you. The brain you are using right now is not a financial brain. It is a survival brain. It was built over hundreds of thousands of years to solve problems that have nothing to do with savings accounts, stock markets, or compound interest. And when you force a survival brain to navigate a modern financial world, the results are predictable. You overspend, you undersave, you panic sell, you delay. You repeat the same mistakes over and over, not because you are weak, but because your brain is running software that was never updated for the world you actually live in. The first thing you need to understand is present bias. Psychologist Richard Thaler, who won the Nobel Prize in Economics in 2017, spent decades documenting this phenomenon. Present bias is your brain's tendency to overvalue what is in front of you right now and dramatically undervalue everything that exists in the future. If someone offers you $10 today or $11 tomorrow, most people take the $10 today. Logically, waiting one day for 10% more is an extraordinary return. But your brain does not see it that way. Your brain sees now, and now is always more real than later. This is why you buy the thing you cannot afford today. This is why retirement feels abstract, even when you are 40. This is why the credit card bill feels manageable right up until it is not. Present bias is not a character flaw. It is a feature of a brain that evolved in an environment where the future was genuinely uncertain. A berry today was worth more than a berry next week, because next week you might be dead. That logic made perfect sense for your ancestors. In a world of mortgages and pension funds, it is financially catastrophic. But present bias is only the beginning. Researcher Daniel Kahneman, whose work on cognitive biases won him the Nobel Prize in 2002, identified something he called the availability heuristic. Your brain makes decisions based not on actual data, but on how easily examples come to mind. If you recently heard about someone making a fortune in cryptocurrency, that story becomes vivid and available in your memory. Your brain treats vivid memories as evidence of probability. So you overestimate the likelihood of getting rich quickly. You underestimate the slow, boring, reliable path. You chase the story instead of the strategy. This is why people buy individual stocks of companies they have heard of rather than index funds they have not. This is why financial news exists. The more dramatic the story, the more available it becomes in your brain, and the more your decisions are shaped by narrative rather than mathematics. Now, layer on top of that a concept called mental accounting. Behavioral economist Richard Thaler, the same researcher who described present bias, also identified this one. Mental accounting is your brain's tendency to treat money differently depending on where it came from or what category it lives in. A tax refund feels like free money. A bonus feels different from a salary. Money you win feels different from money you earn. And so, you spend the tax refund on something you would never buy with your regular paycheck, even though the money is identical. A dollar is a dollar, but your brain does not experience it that way. Your brain assigns different emotional weights to different pools of money, and those weights determine how easily you spend it. Think about the last time you spent money differently because it came from an unexpected source. A birthday gift, a work bonus, a lucky bet. That feeling of it being somehow separate from your real money, that is mental accounting. And it costs people thousands every year. Here's where it gets even more uncomfortable. Your brain has a loss aversion system so powerful that it shapes nearly every financial decision you make. Kahneman and his research partner Amos Tversky demonstrated in their landmark 1979 study that losses feel roughly twice as painful as equivalent gains feel pleasurable. Losing $100 does not feel like the opposite of gaining $100. It feels approximately twice as bad. This asymmetry is hardwired. It is not something you can logic why people hold on to losing investments long past the point of rationality. Selling a stock that has dropped means making the loss real, permanent, undeniable. As long as you hold it, the loss exists only on paper. Your brain prefers the comfortable fiction of unrealized loss to the painful reality of accepting it. So you hold. And it drops further. And you hold again. And the math gets worse with every day you refuse to feel the pain your brain is trying to protect you from. Loss aversion also explains why people avoid investing at all. The possibility of losing money, even temporarily, feels worse than the certainty of inflation slowly eroding their savings. The savings account feels safe because you never watch the number go down. But as you already know, the number is going down in real terms every single year. Your brain just cannot see it because it is invisible. Loss aversion only fires when the number on the screen moves. Inflation moves silently. Now step back and look at all of these biases together. Present bias makes you spend now and save later. The availability heuristic makes you chase dramatic stories instead of boring strategies. Mental accounting makes you treat identical money differently based on where it came from. Loss aversion makes you freeze, hold losers, and avoid the market entirely. These are not four separate problems. They are four outputs of the same underlying system. A survival brain navigating a financial world it was never built for. Neuroscientist Antonio Damasio spent years studying what happens in the brain when people make decisions under uncertainty. His somatic marker hypothesis suggests that emotional signals from the body, gut feelings, anxiety, excitement, are deeply integrated into the decision-making process. You do not make financial decisions with a cold, rational calculator. You make them with a system that is constantly receiving emotional input, constantly being nudged by fear, desire, memory, and social comparison. Every financial choice you make is partly a rational calculation and partly an emotional response to stimuli your conscious mind never even noticed. Social comparison is one of the most destructive of those stimuli. Your brain evolved in small tribes where relative status mattered enormously. Being seen as successful within your group improved your survival odds. Being seen as low status was genuinely dangerous. That drive has not disappeared. It has just found new targets: the neighbor's car, the colleague's holiday, the lifestyle on the screen. Your brain reads these as status signals and responds with pressure to match them, regardless of whether your bank account agrees. Economists call this keeping up with the Joneses. Neuroscientists call it social comparison bias. Either way, it is costing you money you do not have to impress people who are probably doing the same thing you are. So what do you do with all of this? The first step is the one you are already taking. Awareness. Kahneman himself argued that simply knowing about a bias does not eliminate it, but it does create a pause, a moment between impulse and action where a different choice becomes possible. That pause is everything. The goal is not to become a perfectly rational financial machine. That human does not exist. The goal is to build systems that account for the fact that your brain is biased, that remove the moment of temptation from the equation entirely. Automate your savings so the decision is never made in the moment. Set investment contributions to happen automatically on payday before present bias can redirect the money. Make the default the smart choice, not the easy choice. When you feel the pull of a dramatic investment story, give yourself a waiting period before acting. When you feel the pain of a paper loss, remind yourself that the brain's pain response is calibrated for a world that no longer exists. Your brain is extraordinary. It got your ancestors through ice ages, famines, predators, and everything else the world threw at them for 200,000 years. But it did not evolve for index funds. It did not evolve for compound interest. It did not evolve for a world where the most dangerous financial predator is not a rival tribe, but a 30-second advertisement designed by people who understand your biases better than you do. The financial system was not built around the rational investor. It was built around the emotional one. Every fee, every impulse buy, every panic sell, every lottery ticket is a tax on a brain doing exactly what it was designed to do in completely the wrong environment. You made a financial decision today. Now you know who actually made it. And tomorrow, for the first time, you might make it differently.